Hello, my name is David Jefferson, pianist, composer, instructor. I created this series breaking down barriers to music theory to simplify mastering the fundamentals of music theory through very accessible approaches and lectures that you can do in simply minutes a day.
This course comes jam-packed with a series of short interactive lessons featuring brilliant on-screen displays and live tutorials allowing you to see what is played in real time. Creatively illustrated using professional software and resources, this course allows you to set the pace and guide your own learning through over 3 hours of video content with the assistance of a multi-award winning master certified instructor. Be prepared to learn such skills as navigating the keyboard in grand staff, the musical alphabet, forming chords, basic articulations, writing rhythm, major and minor scales, writing and reading intervallic notation, forming the basic triads in any key, major, minor, augmented, and diminished functions, reading in any time signature, inversions of chords and triads, finding what key you are in, key signatures, and more. I am committed to help you build your musical foundation. Your key to success is taking that first step and purchasing Breaking Down Barriers to Music Theory. Section 2, Chapter 2.1, White Keys as Sharps and Flats. White keys must sometimes be used as sharps and flats, as we briefly covered in Section 1. This chart will show and explain why and why which keys should be used. You see here, we have the notes B and C and E and F, the only half steps that are only white keys, right? Now those are a special case because C flat will be on a white key, not a black key. And E sharp will be on a white key, not a black key. Now, it can be also thought of enharmonically as well, as you see here. B also being C flat, C also being B sharp, E also being F flat, and F also being E sharp. So the way this works is you can have C flat by taking the note C and flatting it down a note. It gives you C flat now, or B. You can have B sharp by taking the note B, adding a sharp, taking it up a half step. So it's B sharp, or enharmonically known as C. Same thing here. You can get E sharp by taking the note E, adding a sharp, taking it up a half step to E sharp. Or you can get F flat by taking the note F, and taking it down a half step, adding a flat to get F flat. Those are the special cases with accidentals where you'll see white keys as sharps and flats. Other than that, F sharp, G flat, G sharp, A flat, A sharp, B flat. They'll always be on black keys from a white key, other than these. See? E flat, D sharp, D flat, C sharp. I hope you're getting a better understanding of enharmonics now. We will elaborate on those more as we continue. Chapter 2.2, Whole Tones and Semitones. A whole tone is another name for a whole step, like we covered, and a semitone is simply another name for a half step. This is a quick review of how those work, elaborating upon them a little bit more. Let's take the note G right here, as shown right here on the keys, and shown here on the staff. If you go up a semitone, it's the equivalent of G sharp, or adding a sharp by going up. If you go up another semitone, or the equivalent of going up a whole tone, that will take you to this note here, technically A, otherwise known as enharmonically G double sharp. This is what a double sharp looks like. A double sharp means that you take the natural note, the G, and go up a whole tone, or two semitones. G, up, up. G double sharp, right? That's how you get to a double sharp. Now let's begin at G natural again, as we have here, and we're going to do the exact same thing except for flats and double flats. Now G, if you go down a semitone from the natural, which is down a half step, it will take you to G flat, as shown by the flat in front of the note right there. If you go from G flat down again, another semitone, a full whole tone down from the natural, you'll get G double flat, signified by those two double flats, which will be right here. Starting off, once again, G, and then down, down, to G double flat, and harmonically known as F, right here. So G, once again, if you go up, up, that's a double sharp. Or if you go G, only up, that's a sharp. And here, if you go G, down a half step, that will take you to G flat. Or G, down two semitones, or a whole tone, will take you to G flat. Chapter 2.3, Counting. We have some very basic examples of counting over here, and the approach to counting. Mainly, the keys to counting is to make sure that you're using the appropriate counting units for the appropriate rhythmic subdivisions, and also making sure that you use ands in correctly in the right places. Now, if we go through these examples, I'll go and play through them really quick. Counting. Remember, we have 4/4. So here, 4 quarter notes. How many? What type? As you recall. So this one played through will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice how every beat was conserved within that. All matching up to 4, and none of the beats were off point, just subdivided. Now we have 2/4, 2 quarter notes, right? How many? What type? So here, the counting is going to be divided into ands here, as you'll see, except that it's going to be more centered on eighth notes for the counting, as you'll see with the example. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, 2. And not too bad, right? The next example is in 3/4, 3 quarter notes. How many per measure? 3. And what type? It's 4. 4 meaning quarter notes. So with 3, watch how this one is counted. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3. And notice how the ands were still used for breaking down the subdivisions, except it was just in 3/4 time. Now with 6/8, as you can see right here, 6/8 is going to be a slightly different case. 6/8 means how many? 6 notes to fill one measure. What type are those 6 notes filling each measure? An 8, meaning an eighth note. So it takes 6 eighth notes to fill each measure. So how you would count that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each of those half beats. Now in 6/8 time, the half beat of the eighth note now gets 1 beat because it's in 6/8. The eighth notes getting 1 of each of those 6 beats. So now if I play through this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Always making sure to hold to the end of each of those measures. These should give you a really general example of how to approach a lot of the counting and subdivisions. If you ever feel like you're having trouble subdividing because of dots or anything ties, what have you. Make sure that you're breaking down the ands correctly and counting the ands of the beginning of beats that are subdivided into other beats as well. Chapter 2.4 Accents. An accent is the extra strength or stress with which we play one special beat. It is shown by this symbol here, like this, sort of two diagonal lines making an arrowhead, sort of pointing to the right. This is always placed either above or below the note in the music. A measure accent is the special name for a strong beat at the beginning of the measure, otherwise known as the downbeat at the beginning of the measure. An accent is normally played a lot more harshly or sternly than you would normally play. See, here's an A played normally with an accent. It's a very sharp approach to it. So we have 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 with these measure accents along here. This one would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. This one would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This one you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Accents don't always have to be at the beginning of the measure. They can be placed throughout the music for melodic goals or harmonic goals, and an assortment of purposes throughout the music, as you will learn as you go on. Chapter 2.5 Notes between the staves. Now, we're going to introduce a new term called ledger lines. Ledger lines are just like the lines of the staff, except they're miniature lines that are placed above or below as an extension of the lines down or up. The ones mentioned here, and it's easy to think of, or better to think of them as building out in the middle of the staff, as building out from the note middle C. C, or the ones of the right hand, are built down from middle C. The ones for the left hand and bass clef are built up from middle C and around middle C. These notes, as you'll see, ledger lines are added above the bass staff for middle C and higher notes, played by the left hand and whatnot. So here's middle C right here on our upgraded keyboard right here. We have C. If you spell down, you have A on the ledger line here, right? And from A right here, if you spell down 2 more, you have F right there, down from middle C. There. You also have, here's your middle C right here. There's always a note in between middle C and the staff, right? See, like this here on the lower staff, here's middle C. To get to this line, you have to pass through a B to get there. Here's middle C. To get to this first line E, you have to pass through this D to get there. So here's C, and the note D, right up from middle C. Middle C again. Middle C down one will take you to B, right there. If you continue to spell down, B, A, G. So here's G, down from middle C, in between the staff. And G, down to E. Now, see how middle C basically just adds a ledger line, but still in the order of line, space, line, you know? And for the bass clef, here's middle C. And it's the same thing, except just changing directions. From middle C, we go up to E and up to G, right? Middle C again. If you go down, there's B, right? Right before you get to A, the line. We also have C. If you go up one to D, you go up another 2 steps to F, right there. And you can even go as high as A and beyond. F, G, A. Space, line, space. Up to A, which will be shown right here. So it's easiest to spell to these in between the staff, just from finding your middle C on whichever one they're using and seeing which direction they're extending down to it in the case of the right hand playing them, or up to them in the case of the left hand playing them. Thus, there are two ways of printing the same notes, right? These are the exact same notes, but shown spelled differently in between the staff. C, B, A, G, F, right? And this is the exact same notes, just spelled differently for the right hand in between the staff. C, B, A, G, F. Same exact notes, right? Now take these notes up on the treble clef right here, right? G, F, E, D, C, right? Those exact same notes of the treble clef there can also be shown for the left hand in between the staff, as here. So here's middle C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C. See how that works? It's just that the left hand is playing these notes in between the staff. Say you have some other notes, that you don't want to have overlap. That's where these lines come into play. Ledger lines can go further beyond just in between the staff, too, however. Ledger lines can be added lines for notes above or below the grand staff. As you can see here, notes above the treble staff, you will have lines that extend up like this. And below the bass staff, you have lines that extend down, just extensions of those same lines, still spelling the exact same way, space, alright, line, space, line, space, line, space, and whatnot. Only difference is, here you go. Here's your A. See, this top one is F right here. Every good boy does fine. F. If you go up from the top line, F, G, A. Here is A, up from the line F. And then if you continue to spell from that A, you have A, B, C. Line, space, line. And then the next line, space, line, E, F, G. So here's G all the way up here. It's this high G here, right? And that G is extended all the way down from this A right here. Now, the line at the top here is this F right there. So go up from line to space, will take you to this G. Now from this G, you have space, line, space to B, space, line, space to D, and space, line, space up to F. See how it's spelling just the exact same. It's just an extension. Now, here's my middle C again. This time, I'm going to go down to the ones in the bass, down here. And here is the lower E. See, this is a G at the very bottom. So this G is this G right here. And if you go G from this line, space, line, it'll take you to E. From that E, going line, space, line, E, D, C. Your lower C. And then if you go line, space, line again, C, B, A. Your next line. And then if you go line, space, line again, A, G, F. See right there. There's your F. And if you go the spaces, here's this G line, right here in the bass clef. Go from line to space, you'll have F. So this F right here, you can go F, E, D, spelling down, space, line, space. Space, line, space again, we'll go D, C, B. See how that's B? Because it's below that C and we're spelling down, so spelling backwards. So that, and this B right here goes B, A, G. And see how we're down at this G now, that lower G. Basically just an extension. Just remember as they're going down that you're spelling backwards as you're going up, you're spelling forwards with these, right? And see, the musical alphabet is basically named by thirds up here. How you have up here. See, here's my middle C. And then you have A, C, E, G, or G, B, D, F, like that. The lines and the spaces above, that's what those are going to look like. Now, let me hop back down here. Here's middle C, C below, and you have here's E, out from G, F, E to E, C, A, F, right? And then if you take the G down a step to this F here, you'll have F, D, B, G, right there. So ledger lines are to be thought of just exactly like the staff. They're still spelling with the musical alphabet forwards and backwards, A to G. Not much different. It's just that you'll have to play around with these for a little while until you get used to these above and below the staff as well as in between. Chapter 2.6, Dots. We're going to take a broader approach and taking a look at how dots are work into the music. Starting off, we have one whole note right here is 1, 2, 3, 4 beats. Also, it can be 2 half notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 4 quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, all equaling 4 beats. A dot placed after any note adds to the note half the value of the note. So half the value of a half note is a quarter note. So this half note plus this dot equals 3 quarter notes. Half of this is 1 quarter note. So this plus 1 quarter note equals 3 quarter notes. And this is 2. For 3 beats, dotted half equals 3 beats. 2 plus 1 equals 3. Now here, you see that we have quarter note, which is 1 beat. A dot adds half of the value of the note to that note. Half of a quarter note, which is 1 beat, is half a beat, right? Half a beat is an eighth note, right? So half a beat plus this is going to be 3/8 notes, or 1.5 beats. So 1 plus an eighth note equals 1 beat plus a half beat. 1.5 beats. 1 plus 1/2 equals 1.5. See how that works? Now an eighth note, seen here or here, gets half a beat when the quarter note gets 1 beat. Notice that the value of the dot is the same as the value of the next smaller note that it follows, which is pretty interesting and might help when you're calculating some rhythms. So here you see that a dotted half note, the dot will equal the next smaller note down. The next one down from a half note, of course, is a quarter note. So a dotted half equals a half note plus a quarter note. Simple as that. Adding up to 3 beats. This here, a quarter note has 1 beat, plus there's a dot added to this quarter note. So the next one down from a quarter note is an eighth note, a half a beat. So it's a quarter note plus an eighth note, a half a beat, for a total of 1.5 beats. Now, for a quick quiz, what would a dotted whole note be? Using this logic right here, the next note down from a whole note is a half note, right? So if you added a dot to this, then it would be a whole note plus a half note, right? Whole note plus a half note. Or you can think of it the other way around. You can think of it as half of this value, which is 4 beats, which would be 2 beats, one of the half notes. So those 2 beats added to those 4 beats is going to equal 6 beats, or 6 beats meaning a dotted whole note. Chapter 2.7, Introduction to Intervals. This is the last unit that we have in Section 2 before we go on. An interval is the difference in pitch between two sounds or tones. Difference can also be thought of as the distance between two sounds or tones. Based on that distance, intervals have number names reckoned from the number of letter names used in forming them. As you'll see here, we have a first, or unison as they are called, second, a second, a third, here, a fourth, and remembering that the first note is always considered 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For a sixth, starting 1 at the first note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have a seventh, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have the full octave, where then, after the octave, it basically repeats. Alright? The tones of an interval may be sounded separately as a melody or together as a chord. How we have here C and D. The second, C and E. Third, C and F. The fourth, C and G. The fifth, C and A. The sixth, C and B. The seventh, and C and C. The full octave. Now, one good way that I use to kind of remember these, that I'm not sure if any of these may apply to you or if you can be familiar, why not mention them anyway? When I'm trying to hear a second, it helps me to tell that it's a second by picturing the first note spelling up to the fifth in the scale and listening just at the first 2 notes out of those 5. If it sounds like it can form the rest of the scale from those 2 notes, or like it's starting a scale, you know it's a second, at least a major second for now. A third, like this. This is also a major third, which we'll learn more about later. A third, I think of this one as the doorbell interval. Doorbell, like that. The perfect fourth is pretty easy to recognize because you have the "Here comes the bride, here comes the bride." That is what a fourth, a perfect fourth, as it's also known as. It's one way how to tell that. One way how to tell that you're hearing a fifth is think of the 2 notes as the first 2 notes of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which they actually are. See? 1 and 5. So when you hear those 2, think Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. A major sixth. Who knows if anyone has ever heard of NBC, but that's all I got for this one. Have you ever heard that? The NBC tone? That's how you know you're listening to a major sixth. And a major seventh, what I usually try to do is listen and see if the top note is very dissonant, a major seventh like this. I try to see if the top note is trying to augment up to the full octave. And if it sounds like it's trying to push up to that whole octave, you know that this is this type of seventh. And an octave is listening for the exact same note, an octave higher. Or another way you can think of it, somewhere over the rainbow. That's how you can tell it's an octave. So that's some pretty interesting ways that I use to remember those. Maybe you can create your own. Now the next part, one last thing to mention. The change of one or both notes of an interval by an accidental, be it a sharp, a flat, or a natural, does not change its number name as long as the position of the lines and spaces is still the same distance as the interval. Thus, each of the following is still a third regardless of all of these accidentals, as there is only one letter named D between them. Right? As we'll learn as we go on further, you'll learn about where we're getting these different distinctions. But with this, I can show you an example quick. That's a major third, still a third, right? That's a minor third, still, however, a third, C and E. This is another minor third, still, the note itself, regardless of the accidentals, is a C and an E, meaning it's a third. Here we have, that's a diminished third, still a third, however. Here we have, right there, that is also a diminished third. Right here, still a third, because C and E, but that's a major third here. Now here, C flat and E flat. Still a third, because C and E, except it's a major third. And this last one, C flat and E double flat. That one is a minor third. So that's the end of section 2. I'd advise you to go review these concepts before you continue on to the next section, in section 3. And we will pick up where we left off.